There's a photograph on the Halford family's Instagram page, posted on a Tuesday, 11:42 in the morning, local island time. In it, 6 people are laughing, really laughing. The kind that scrunches your eyes shut and makes you forget the camera is there. They're seated around a low wooden table on an open-air terrace. The ocean behind them is the color of green glass. There are bowls of food, strings of lights overhead, and in the center of the table, 6 clay cups. The caption reads, "Day 4, best trip of our lives." By Thursday morning, all 6 of them were dead. And for a while, a long, disorienting while, no one could explain why. The Halfords were, by every account, a close family. Not performatively close, genuinely so. My name is Cassandra Maddox. I tell stories about people who didn't get to tell their own. This is one of them. Martin Halford, 53, was a structural engineer from the Pacific Northwest. His wife, Diane, 51, had taught middle school art for 20 years before retiring early. Their daughter, Presley, 24, had just finished her graduate degree. Their son, Caleb, 22, was in his final year of university. Presley had brought her boyfriend, Ren Okoro. Caleb had brought his girlfriend, Sonia Vega. The trip had been Martin's idea, a reward. Presley's graduation, Caleb's upcoming degree, a family milestone dressed up as a vacation. They'd chosen the island deliberately, not the famous one you've heard of, not the one with the luxury resorts and the influencer hashtags. This was smaller, quieter, the kind of place you find on the 3rd page of a travel blog, written by someone who really means it. They arrived on a Saturday. They rented a wooden house on stilts near the water's edge. The owner, a local man named Fenwick, described them later to investigators as happy people, loud, good. For 3 days, they were exactly that. They hired a guide. They took a boat through mangroves. They ate at the night market every evening. Diane painted watercolors on the porch each morning. Martin kept a handwritten trip journal, something the family teased him for. By Wednesday evening, they were back on that terrace, laughing. By Thursday, Fenwick came to fix a loose shutter and found the door unlocked. What he found inside was 6 people in their beds who would not wake up. Here is what made this case so disorienting in its early hours. There was nothing. No signs of struggle. No forced entry. No evidence of a fire, a gas leak, a carbon monoxide source. The house had no faulty appliances, no compromised ventilation. The rental had been used by dozens of guests before the Halfords without incident. There were no injuries, no marks, no indication that any of the 6 had experienced visible distress before lying down. Their phones were on their nightstands. Their shoes were neatly beside their beds. Diane's reading glasses were folded on top of her book, a page still dog-eared mid-chapter. It looked, to every first responder who entered that house, like 6 people who had simply gone to sleep. Investigators initially considered a foodborne illness, but the timeline was wrong. Severe food poisoning doesn't typically take 6 people simultaneously and leave them without any sign of distress. They considered a gas event, ruled out. They considered a communal illness, something viral, but nothing in their medical histories, nothing found on scene pointed that direction. Toxicology was ordered, and then everyone waited. For 48 hours, the Halford case had no cause of death. What it did have was a family, 6 people who had been laughing on a Tuesday and were gone by Thursday. Sonia Vega's mother was contacted by phone. She told the officer she'd spoken to Sonia just hours before, that Sonia had sent her a photo of the sunset. She said Sonia had almost not gone on the trip. She'd been afraid of flying. She'd nearly backed out. She almost hadn't gone. Martin Halford's trip journal was recovered from the bedroom nightstand. Investigators read it looking for anything. An argument, an encounter with a stranger, a complaint about feeling unwell. What they found instead was the careful, cheerful record of a man genuinely enjoying himself. Day 1, Day 2, Day 3. Small observations. A funny thing Caleb said. A description of the mangroves. A note about the night market vendor who gave Diane an extra portion because she complimented his cooking. And then, the last entry. Wednesday. Today we tried tuak. Wren found it at the market. We all drank. Tasted strange but good. Locals seemed to love it. Presley had 2 cups. We laughed a lot. Going to bed early. Long day tomorrow. Investigators flagged the word they didn't recognize. Tuak. They went back to the night market. They spoke to vendors. They asked about the clay cups, 6 of them, still sitting unwashed in the kitchen of the rental house. They collected residue samples and added them to the toxicology request. And they waited again. Meanwhile, the photograph stayed up on Instagram. Friends and extended family of the Halfords had begun to find it. The last one posted. 6 people laughing. 6 clay cups. The ocean like green glass. The comments filled slowly with people who didn't yet know. You guys look so happy. Miss you already. Get home safe. Goals. The toxicology results came back and confirmed what no one had initially thought to look for. Methanol poisoning. If you're not familiar with methanol, most people aren't, not really. Here's what you need to understand. Methanol is not the alcohol in the drinks you know. That's ethanol. Methanol is its chemical cousin, and it is lethal in quantities that would barely register as a buzz if they were ethanol. It's used in industrial solvents, in antifreeze. It has no business being consumed by a human being. But it can appear, accidentally, unpredictably, in improperly fermented or improperly stored alcohol, particularly homemade or traditionally brewed alcohol that hasn't been produced under controlled conditions, like tuak. Tuak is a traditional palm wine brewed across parts of Southeast Asia. In the communities where it's made, it's cultural, ceremonial even. The people who drink it regularly have grown up with it. They know its rhythms. They know how much is too much. They know because they were taught, because their parents knew that a batch left too long in the heat is a batch that has turned. The Halfords didn't know any of that. The residue from the clay cups confirmed it. The batch of tuak Wren had found at the market had been sitting past its window. In the tropical heat, fermentation accelerates in ways that are invisible to the eye and undetectable by taste. The methanol content had climbed to lethal levels, and 6 people who had no frame of reference, who only knew that it tasted strange but good, that the people around them seemed to love it, had each drunk enough. Methanol poisoning is insidious. In the first hours, it mimics regular intoxication, warmth, dizziness, euphoria. The Halfords went to bed that night the way you go to bed after a good evening. The symptoms that kill don't arrive until the methanol metabolizes. By then, it is almost always too late. The vendor at the night market was located. He was an older man who had been selling tuak for 30 years. He was, by all accounts, devastated. His own family had drunk from a different batch that same evening. They were fine. He was not charged. There was no crime in the legal sense, no malice, no negligence that rose to criminal threshold, a tragic collision of heat and time, and the unbridgeable gap between what the locals knew and what the tourists didn't. Diane's watercolors were still on the porch drying when Fenwick found them. 4 small paintings, morning light on the water, a fishing boat, a gecko on a white wall. the night market in loose, impressionistic strokes. Martin's journal was returned to extended family. The last entry is the last thing he ever wrote. Presley's university friends turned her social media into a memorial. Caleb's university held a quiet ceremony at the end of the semester. Renocoro's family traveled to the island to collect his belongings. Sonia Vega's mother gave an interview months later. She said she still couldn't understand it. She said Sonia had almost not gone. I keep returning to that photograph. Tuesday, 11:42. 6 people laughing. Clay cups on the table. The ocean behind them, the color of green glass. There's something unbearable about how ordinary it looks, how happy. They weren't reckless. They weren't careless. They were curious, open to the place they were visiting, willing to try what the locals loved, trusting the world to be mostly safe. They just didn't know what they were holding. And nobody at that table, not the family, not the vendor, not the locals passing by, understood in that moment that the gap between what they knew and what the Halfords knew was the distance between a good evening and a tragedy. Every year, travelers die from things that local populations navigate safely, because locals carry knowledge that can't be absorbed in a long weekend. That doesn't make the world dangerous. It makes knowledge essential. The Halfords raised their cups on a warm Wednesday evening on a terrace above the water and toasted to the best trip of their lives. They weren't wrong. They just didn't get to finish it. If you're still here, you're one of the curious ones. Stick around. The next mystery's already waiting.